Okay, I want to talk about like how in this day and age, and in the previous cycle, being an elder does not mean having the most wisdom. Reason being is because under this previous cycle that's ending, it was already ended, but then it's gonna take like could be a couple of decades that's in time to actually come to full fruition for some people. That's in correct divine alignment. Those folks might see it. People who are not in correct divine alignment won't even see it after 20 years. But I want to talk about how in this particular day and age and in the previous cycle, being an elder does not mean having the most wisdom, whether it's a man or a woman. And I'm speaking mostly in the United States of America, like especially with the brown American community specifically. Not necessarily the Caucasian community, anybody like that, because they have a different culture where a lot might not have been hidden from them. But for the brown Americans, a lot has been hidden from brown Americans. You had a lot of brown Americans that got into religion, a lot of religion, and they gave up their own other spiritual type of practices for a lot of religion and indoctrination. We were educated under somebody else's education system. Okay, so being an elder specifically in this particular time, and this day and time, and especially under the previous cycle that's ended or is still ending. You can't just call somebody wise just because they're older. It's best to see what they're talking about. Being older does not mean you have the most wisdom. If it's most of the stuff that's going to come out of an older person's mouth is about religion, or it's about just about everything is according to the indoctrination from the United States of America. Okay, so then you can't call that a lot of wisdom. Okay, maybe they have life experience. You can look at their life experience, but then their life experience is going to be based on their life. Their life experience is going to be based on their life. And then things change so much. It used to be a time, like just for instance, in the workplace. It used to be a time in the workplace when my family, who were boomers, when they grew up, you would get recognized for going above and beyond. You would get recognized for your hard work. You would get recognized for going above and beyond. You would get recognized for it. Now, people don't recognize you. They just abuse you. You go above and beyond, they're going to abuse you, and they almost seem like they resent you more for going above and beyond. And then they give more to the people who don't do as much. So, like, things are totally different. It's totally different. So anyway, like, I can see elders, because I have nothing against people who are older. I have nothing against that. My point is, you can't just say somebody is wise or have a lot of wisdom just because they're older, but then you came up under a system that fed people nothing but indoctrination. I mean, from the moment the person was born, it's been nothing but lies. Lies about the slave trade, going to school to learn what somebody else wants you to learn, and then converting to somebody else's religion. Okay, and moving away from your own spiritual practices. Okay, whatever that might be, because different cultures, like if you have different cultures throughout the world that don't mix in with a bunch of people, right? It's not to say that they don't have people come and visit their country. It's not to say they might not go somewhere else. But for the most part, they are tight with their cultures. And they have their own ancestral practices from maybe thousands of years ago. And so that elder that holds on to those particular spiritual practices from thousands of years ago, and there's been no indoctrination in those particular countries, that I can say that that's an elder, and they're wise because they have a certain years of experience in their culture with their spiritual practices. But being an elder and being called wise in the United States of America, where you've been nothing but indoctrinated since you were born, I can't call you wise just because you're older. I can say you have some experience. I can say you have life experience, but then you have life experience in whatever area that you have life experience in. And some people that's older, like close to 100 years old, that never traveled outside the United States. Never traveled outside the United States. That's not to say they don't have wisdom, but at the same time, they never traveled. Some of them never traveled. And so there's still a lot of experience that is still missing. But a lot of times when we look at people who are older, especially when they're in the area where there's nothing but indoctrination like United States of America, there's nothing but indoctrination. There's nothing but GMO. It's not, I mean, come on. It's like, who can you really call wise? Because a lot of those older brown people, a lot of those elders, they try to hold you back to that old way of believing. They try to hold you back to, they're not trying to connect you back with maybe your ancestors from the indigenous, the times when people were, before indigenous brown people lost their lands. A lot of those elders don't even know to connect you back to that. A lot of those elders are religious. Okay, they giving other people their religion that was given to them by somebody else. So it's like it's almost like a lot of group of those elders. I mean, they do carry a certain foundation, I think, but I mean, they're full of a lot of lies. They're full of a lot of lies. Those elders a lot of them will still talk about the transatlantic slave trade. You have some elders in some areas that know the transatlantic slave trade was not real, might not have been real, and it might not have been the way the story was told in the books. But then you're not going to have a whole lot that's going to tell the truth. And let me tell you about a lot of these elders. It's a lot of elder brown women that don't even tell the truth about the civil rights movement. About the March on Washington. It was one brown woman who told this in her 90s if she haven't died yet. And, you know, I'm just saying, when I read it, it was in her 90s when she told the story, and I don't know when she told the story. But it's about the March on Washington and about how the brown women were treated. And it's like, you know, what is an elder that can't really pass the wisdom on to the younger generation? What is the elder? Okay, you know, same thing with the men. It's a lot of men, elder men that did not pass wisdom on to the younger generations, and the younger generations kept being left to try to figure out things for themselves, to raise themselves. So what is an elder for real in the brown community? Now, an elder, like I keep saying Senegalese tribe and Jawa tribe, those type of tribes that have not been tainted, nobody else interfered with them, especially a Senegalese tribe. They'll kill you if you go over there. You know, those elders, yeah, I can see them because they all are in the same type of spiritual type of practice. They all share the same ancestors. So when you have an elder, somebody who's older, they have a certain amount of years and a certain level of respect with the ancestors. But somebody, just because they're older, but then they grew up in a world like United States of America where from the day they were born, they've been indoctrinated. You can't just call somebody wise because they're older. So it's a big difference, okay? It's a big difference between an elder that was born and raised in the United States between a certain time, like maybe 1920, 1930s, 1940s. And the only thing they can tell you is something that was given in the textbook and about religion and all that stuff. They really not give you anything else more, and they can give you life experience. They might be discerning. Yeah, okay, now, they might be discerning. I will give that to a lot of elders. They might be discerning. I think they are better with discernment, though. I think they can tell when somebody ain't right. So I think they're better with discernment. But at the same time, a lot of elders in the United States of America, brown elders, have allowed a lot of stuff to go on in the brown community with it being unchecked, and it just kept getting worse. With each generation, it kept getting worse. It's like they're never checking certain things in the brown community, and now the brown community is literally no more, okay? So unless you can pass something to the generation that comes after you, how much respect do you really get? How much respect do you really get? But yeah, so there's a big difference, yeah, than an elder that grew up in an area that's been nothing but indoctrination, lies, hiding the truth, playing all these mind games, a bunch of mind control and all this stuff they spraying in the sky. And then the elder, where somewhere is nothing but organic. The word organic don't even exist. And they have one spiritual practice. They're not doing all this other different religions and stuff. Okay. And, it's a big difference. Anyway, though, I'll talk later.